2 words, March Madness. We already have boys sectional play underway. Girls regionals are already wrapping up as well, which means next week will begin the girls state tournament, which also means our coverage for the girls state basketball tournament will begin that week as well, which also means since this is episode 99, unreal. It's still just amazing to me that we've come so far in such a short time span as well. But episode 99, and a great way to do it is to start off with March Madness. We're going to talk with a couple of different people that are currently alive in this field as it continues to shrink and shrink and shrink. But wow, we got a great show for you all planned, which also means, again, episode 100 will be out next week. 100A, 100B will follow that as well. So you guys will not want to miss that. But first, let's deal with episode 99. This is going to be a great episode because, as I always joke around with my guests, I always say, you must be on cloud 9. I guarantee you my first guest, who resides from Wyoming East, a senior, talked to Derek Brooks earlier in the year, talked very highly of my guest, but let's bring him in now, and that is Mr. Tanner Whitten. Again, Tanner, you have to be on cloud 9. If you are not on cloud 9, this podcast is over. I mean, sectional title for you all. What's going on, my man?
It feels good to get a win, especially against Bluefield and at Brush Fork. I think a lot of people counted us out before that game, so it feels good to prove some people wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's good to speak with you. It's good to get back connected with Wyoming East. I mean, I told your coach a while back, I always hated playing Wyoming East whenever I was at Winfield, but one of my favorite things about playing was going to different venues. I love you guys' court. I love you guys' arena. I love it. Very old fashioned. Now I gotta ask, are you a Celtics fan?
No.
You seem like a Celtics fan. That's why I asked.
I like Charlotte.
Okay. I can understand that. Is it because of LaMelo?
Yeah.
I figured. But now I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna get stuck in your head. This may be a little bit before your time. It's definitely before my time, but they still had it around in the early 2000s. But if you recall, the old Celtics court almost looks identical to your all's home floor.
Yeah, it's got the same hardwood. One of my teachers up there, he's a diehard Celtics fan, and they used to go to a lot of games. Actually went to one this year when they played the Warriors, and he said that it's the same structure and everything, same design. It's pretty cool.
I love it. One of my favorite venues in all of West Virginia. So I love talking to people from Wyoming East. So thank you for joining me, Tanner. We've already kind of sprinkled on your sectional title, but let's go back to square one. And I want to talk about your guys' run to the sectional title. You guys defeat Summers County 55-21 last Friday. Then you mentioned just a second ago how you thought people counted you all out against Bluefield, who actually ended up in the final top 3 of the Class AA AP poll. So, Tanner, let's go back to what you had said just a few minutes ago. And that was, you guys felt like, especially yourself, you all felt like that you all were counted out in that game in the sectional final against Bluefield. In what way did you guys kind of get that feeling, and how did that really ignite you all to that victory?
Well, we saw some just stuff on some social media, and just them. Bluefield's a good team. I mean, they have a good program and everything, but I think we really played with a chip on our shoulder when we found out we were the 2 seed.
So let's talk about this game. I mean, obviously it was a hard-fought game. You guys win the game 58-44. You all split the 2 regular season meetings. Bluefield won the first one, then you all went down to the Greenbrier, played them as well. So let's talk about this not really rivalry, but this series between you all this season. When you look back at this series so far in these 3 games that you guys played against the Beavers, how competitive were those games?
They were really competitive. Bluefield and Wyoming East, years past, it's always been good games. And beginning of the season when we played them, we've definitely progressed throughout the season, and we got on a hot streak at the right time, and I feel like that's what's got us here.
I'm looking at your guys' schedule so far. You guys have played a very difficult schedule. I mean, just looking at it, You guys started off the season playing Shady Spring. Then you guys go on the road and play at Man. Then you mentioned we've already mentioned Bluefield. You played them twice. You played a Woodrow Wilson team that's trying to put pieces together. You played Shady Spring again. Bluefield, like we said, Midland, you guys welcome them in. You play South Charleston at West Virginia State, Man again, a good St. Albans team as well, a very good Charleston Catholic team that you guys actually beat. So when you look at the schedule that you guys played during the regular season, do you think the difficulty of that schedule helped you all prepare for postseason play?
Oh, for sure. Playing those good teams like that, like Man, they won single A. Shady, they won triple A. Just playing teams like that has definitely helped.
In what way does that make you, build fire as a competitor? I mean, obviously you're going up against some of the top talent in the state, but I would assume you would get a different groove in your game, a little pep in your steps, so to speak, whenever you go up against a team like them.
Yeah, just playing against. I like playing against competition like that, and it's got me ready.
So how do you get motivated to play a team like a really good team like that? I mean, do you have like a specific playlist, or do you meditate? And that's probably very out there, but do you meditate? What do you do to get prepared for those big games?
I got some playlists, and I know when me and my teammates go out there, I know they got my back, and I got theirs.
Okay, I'm a big music fan, so I gotta ask, what kind of music you listening to? You listen to some hip hop? You listen to some classics? What we got going?
I listen to some rap.
Ooh, okay, give me a few artists. What are we listening to?
It's usually Lil Baby, Gunna, and Future.
Ooh, that's a solid trio right there. I like it. I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
Drake. I listen to Drake quite a bit.
Okay, now here's probably the hardest question you'll get asked all night. Is it old Drake or is it new Drake? There's a very big difference. I want to make
Mhm.
sure that you're educated.
I like old Drake more.
Boom. Thank you. Thank you. Podcast over. That's the only
Yep.
question I wanted to make sure I got asked.
Yeah, old Drake, definitely.
Oh man. Well, Tanner, let's continue. Let's get back on the basketball. I mean, as you can tell, I go down a rabbit trail, and you never know where it gets you. It really doesn't. But let's get back to talking basketball. And you guys are a very fascinating story because you guys have had a lot of ups and downs throughout the season. It seems like anytime you go on a win streak, it just stops. But that's just due to the tough competition that you all play. But when you look at the differences between last year's team and this year's team, what kind of differences can you spot out between this team?
Uh, Ever since this group's been through a lot, we've had a lot of up and downs, and we only lost one player last year, and so I mean, we all kind of click together because I mean we've played with each other for 3 years, and it's helped out.
In what way do you all click?
We just know the right people to go to, and just that's about it.
So when you mentioned how you guys have been playing for so long, take me back to that first time that you guys, ultimately started buying into one another, started enjoying playing with one another. Because I would assume playing in Southern West Virginia, you would have to be very well rounded and well connected as well as stick together.
Mhm. Yeah, we've been playing travel ball, AAU, stuff like that since I can remember, probably since elementary school. Just through summer league, just about everything really.
Now, were you guys the best team growing up?
When I was in middle school, it was usually there was some tough competition in middle schools. You had Oceana, you had Mullins. Mullins was really good. Pineville, I went to Pineville. Pineville won a few championships while I was in middle school. But yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of competition
So what
when
you're
I
saying,
was.
so what you're saying is you were a born winner. Just say right now, you were born a winner.
Yeah.
Well, Tanner, let's continue talking about this season, and let's go to your game now. Because again, your game really fascinates me. You're sitting right around 6'2" as a senior, and you're very dynamic in your game, which is what I love about it so much. But when you look at your game, how have you sort of seen your game blossom over these last few years at Wyoming East?
Uh, playing a lot of minutes as a sophomore really helped with confidence and stuff. And really, I try to mix it up when my outside shots aren't hitting or really anything. I try to go inside post up, get easy buckets under the glass.
So when you look at different when you watch different videos, I would assume you would watch different players, maybe former players that played in the NBA or in college for that matter. But when you look at who you try and mimic your game after, who are a few people that you try and, take bits and pieces from their game and you try and apply it to your arsenal?
I like Luca.
Ooh, okay. How
I
come?
like him, and I like Devin Booker. Those are probably my two favorite.
Okay. So what do you try and take from them?
Luca, he can shoot the ball and from outside or just about anywhere, and he can post up. And Devin Booker, he can hit those tough mid ranges. He can just hit tough shots.
Are you impressed with how far your game has come since you first stepped onto the court with the Spartans to now?
Yeah, for sure. Starting as a sophomore with a lot of seniors, and it helped. It helped a lot.
So when you look at, just playing with these guys, learning from a young age with a lot of these seniors that you played with, how beneficial was it for you to learn from those guys that ultimately went on to do bigger and better things?
Yeah, they were there before me, and they knew what to do, and they helped me a lot.
In what ways? What would you consider the biggest piece of advice that they gave you?
Let me think back that far. It's just more just let the game come to me. Just pretty much be like that, yeah.
Okay, I got you. That's no biggie. I understand that. I do because then I think
I
as a
can't
young
really I can't really think back that far.
well, that's fine. I mean, I think as a young player, it's always good to reflect, obviously, and understand, what went through your head, what you learned, stuff like that. So, yeah, no, I understand that. So, looking at the coaching staff, I feel like Coach Brooks has been a very influential person on you. He saw something in you at such an early age as a sophomore, which led to minutes on the court. But looking at your relationship between you and Coach Brooks, how would you best describe that relationship between the two of you?
Mine and Coach Brooks' relationship is really good. I mean, he's had confidence in me since day one.
In what way do you continue to see him, buy into you, continue to trust you on and off the court? How does that continue to develop?
What was it? It cut out again.
No, I was just asking, how have you continued to see that relationship develop into something that ultimately helps you succeed in the long run?
They've always pushed me to the max, and they just always wanted the best out of me and get the best out of me.
So whenever a coach does that for you, do you sort of replicate that and you try and apply that and do the same thing towards your own teammates?
Yeah. Sometimes some my teammates they need confidence boosters, so I try to lighten them up.
Couple more, and when you look at the senior class you are a part of, there are three seniors to my count, and if I'm leaving it, but yeah, three to my count. But being able to play with these group of seniors that you've played with, knowing that the ultimate goal is making to the state tournament and ultimately hoisting that state trophy as well is always going to be on everybody's goal. But for you, when you look back at these last few years playing with your senior class, what have these last few years been like being able to play with this group of guys?
It's been awesome. I mean, like I said before, I mean, we've been through a lot, and hopefully later down the road we can look back on it, and it's pretty good times.
When you look at this regional matchup, your matchup is still predetermined, but you don't know who it is quite yet. But when you look at what needs to happen for you all to make it to the big stage in Charleston, what do you think needs to happen to get to that point in the season?
Uh, Defense. I mean, we work on defense and rebound and boxing out a lot. And at Brush Fork when we played Bluefield, our defense was probably the best it's been all year. I mean, we played a full 32 minutes of just of straight defense and getting
Yeah,
rebounds.
yeah, I'm looking at your guys' season total so far. That actually tied the season low for points by your opponents that you guys played Woodrow Wilson earlier this season. So yeah, the defense speaks for itself. So in what way do you see your guys' defense continues to succeed night in and night out?
I look forward to succeed. Like I said, I think we're hot right now, and we got hot at the right time, and I think it's just going to get better as the games go.
Yeah, again, just going back to your schedule, you've won 5 of your last 7 games. So, yeah, you guys are playing the right basketball at the right time. Quality wins as well. But when you look at this game against Bluefield, obviously you guys win the game by 14, 58-44. But how big of a motivational boost is that for you all moving forward?
Oh, it was a huge motivational boost. I mean, we've been ready. We've been ready for that game for a long time, and we wanted it really bad.
And lastly, looking at these guys around you, I mean, going back, we've already talked about the senior class, but I'm always interested to see what teammates say about other teammates around them. But when you look at the group of guys that you're playing with this season, obviously you are probably one of the top guys on the team that gets a lot of recognition. But outside of yourself, who do you think deserves a lot more love, a lot more attention towards their way? Who would that be in your eyes?
Just everybody. I mean, we all have worked really hard to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to put it. So, Tanner, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck the rest of the way this season. And hopefully, I can see you all down in Charles in the not so distant future.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep, absolutely. Up next, we'll talk with a new and different basketball personality on the boys basketball side as well. You won't want to miss it here on episode 99 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. Welcome back into episode 99 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. We just spoke with Tanner Whitten from Wyoming East. So let's go from the southern portion of the state up to the eastern panhandle, where we are pleased to be joined by veteran Hedgesville boys head basketball coach, Coach Kelly Church. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, whenever I say the word veteran, does it feel like you've been coaching for a long time? I mean, I know as a coach, you probably like your back may hurt or your knees or the whistle may just be getting too much at certain points. You got to start using your voice. I mean, does it feel like you feel like a veteran coach at this point?
Well, like honestly, I try not to use my whistle in practice. I use my voice. I have a very loud voice. I've been told, but I think it's important. Like I joke around with our kids that like I don't care how crowded the gym is. In the background of your picture is a picture of the Civic Center, and like no matter what at the Civic Center, I don't care if it's we've been there when there's about 11,000, and we were fortunate enough to be playing there, and I promise everybody at the top could hear me. And so I think it's important. No artificial noisemakers, but my voice isn't artificial. So, I think it gives you an advantage if your kids can hear you, talk to them while they're playing. Sometimes some people get the misconception that I'm yelling at my kids. I promise I'm not yelling at them. I'm yelling to them. But they have to be able to hear me. I talk about a gym voice all the time. People make fun of it. They say a gym voice, and like no matter what, I'm a big Coach K fan. I'm a big college basketball fan, and we talk about like clear and concise communication. It needs to be deliberate. It needs to be quick and loud enough so everybody can hear it. In terms of being a veteran, like, I'm old enough where, I've been doing it long, like 30 years, 24 here at Hedgesville, and, had many fond memories. Some of the kids today were asking me about like, what's your favorite team you ever coached? And I coached my twin sons here, and we had some pretty good seasons. I know like one of the things that people ask all the time, like, well, do coaches have favorites? I don't know what other people say, but I don't hesitate. Like coaches do have favorites, and it's not necessarily your best players or anything else. It's the kids that show up early, the kids that stay late, the kids that dive on the floor, they're willing to sweep the floor, help the managers. Those are your favorite players. And obviously my sons were two of my favorites. And while they were here, we had 3 Division I basketball players and a Division I football player on our team. So they didn't necessarily get to play a lot. My one son went on to the United States Merchant Marine Academy and was actually captain of the basketball team there, although he played, not tons of minutes here. And obviously that's a pretty neat accomplishment when you're going to a school like that to be captain of the leaders of our country. And then my other son went to Marshall to be a manager, and he actually went on to coach Division I basketball at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So, if you can have a kid that can go on and coach Division I basketball, I guess it kind of makes you better be solid with being a veteran. So,
Well, absolutely. Well, before we get into this season, I got to ask. So we keep talking about the veteran side of you. You mentioned how you've been coaching at Hedgesville for 24 years now. I'll ask you the same question I asked McPrice earlier in the season. That was, through all these different changes that have occurred in West Virginia high school basketball from the time that you assumed the head coaching position to this day and age, what do you think is the biggest thing that's been changed or implemented? Just walk me through that. What do you think has changed the most since you first started head coaching?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few things. I think one of the biggest things is now two teams from, and I was part of that. Like I was fortunate enough, like you brought up Coach Price and, Coach Green, who's at, GW, and Coach Hatch, who was at Logan. After like my first year, we made it to the state tournament, and then like just through them watching me coach, which was very flattering because at that point I thought they were veteran guys. So, we had kind of a coaches summit, and we met, and we actually met at Glenville, and we met together and just shared basketball ideas and thoughts and different things about our programs and what we did at practice, and just try to learn as much as we could. And I was so flattered that those guys asked me to be part of it at such a young age. And so, one of the big things that we started there, and I don't want to say we, like it was mainly me, it was mainly them, but I was part of it, was to try to change it where, two teams from the same area could end up going, two teams from the same section could be, at the state tournament. That's obviously one of the big changes. One of the things that, like, not necessarily a change, but for me coming in, like, I'm in Hedgesville, West Virginia, and I can tell you now, I've been here 24 years, and if you're not from Hedgesville, you can't be from Hedgesville. So, I still deal with that sometimes. It's just the reality of this state. It is the most, at times, loving and welcoming state you could ever ask for. But the reality of it is that people are pretty tight to who's their own. And so, but along those lines, like the pageantry of the state tournament of West Virginia basketball, it's almost, and I don't want to sound like I'm being a negative guy, it's almost to the point where people are willing to sell their souls to get there. It is an unbelievably like neat experience, and everybody wants their kid when they go through high school basketball. Everybody wants to win a state championship, but everybody wants their kid to experience the state tournament and walking out there on that floor. And so, I think sometimes that makes people make some not good decisions. That's the truth. But, one of the other big things that's changed is, they're talking about voting on it now. We have 4 divisions in basketball. So we're one of the smallest populated states in the country, but yet we have 4 divisions in basketball. I know it lets more kids participate, but I don't know if that also doesn't dilute the basketball. And again, not throwing stones, just giving my opinion, and so, but now in college basketball, you have the transfer portal. So now we're basically trying to create that in the state of West Virginia. So, a kid can pick where they go. And then if the kid doesn't so basically, if you transfer to a school to start with, and you start at school A, and it's not in your school district, you don't like school A, you can one-time transfer to school B. And if you don't enjoy your experience at school B, you can go back to your home school of school C. So we can have kids just jumping around. And when Tubby Smith talks about when he went to High Point and he was having a miserable freshman year, and he called his dad, and he told his dad, he wanted to transfer, he wanted to come home. And Tubby Smith's dad told him, well, they still paid for your scholarship? He said, yes. They still providing you with meals and a place to sleep? He said, yes. He said, well, you have 2 choices. You can join the Army or you can stay. Those are your 2 choices. And so I think what happens is we like in my health classes, everybody wants to be, everybody's very concerned about kids and well-being. And obviously the pandemic affected a lot of things, but no matter what, man, you have to teach people how to cope. You have to face adversity and find a way to face adversity and bounce through it. And so I do get a little scared when I think about, maybe we're getting away from, kids got to face some tough in life. You're going to have tough choices. You're going to have decisions to make. You're going to have, tough situations in life. I went from being a head basketball coach in Richmond, Virginia. I briefly coached in college, and then was, a high school head coach. And, and all of a sudden I had twin sons, and I was by myself. And so I had 2 baby boys and me. And so, but when I tell the story, I tell it to the kids all the time, like, the basketball stuff, well, that's fun. That's not hard. That's not real life. Sometimes in basketball, though, some things will present themselves that are difficult. You lose a game you didn't want to lose. You miss a last second shot, so the other team won. How do you handle yourself? Because there's going to be real life adversity that comes along. And it's not going to be just you lost the game. It might be all of a sudden you've got to stop coaching basketball because you got to raise 2 kids by yourself. And those are real life things to deal with, not just a basketball game.
All great points. And I agree wholeheartedly with all of them, just because, going back to what you said earlier, you could definitely tell that if you're not from a specific community, then, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to work for it, or you're just not a part of it. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But I want to go back to something that you had mentioned in the middle of that statement, and that was Senate Bill 586. I spoke with Michael Jebbia, William Park's boys head basketball coach, in the last episode 98, and he gave his side to it. But for somebody that's been coaching for 30 years total, 24 at Hedgesville, do you agree, or do you think that with what West Virginia is trying to do with this Senate bill could potentially be like a quote unquote new transfer portal for high school athletes here in the state of West Virginia?
Listen, like everybody, we've had kids transfer to Hedgesville High School. Like we've had kids transfer in, we've had kids transfer out. It's the reality of it. There's a young man who was a really, really good basketball player. He ended up playing at one of our, local high schools. And he, on a regular basis, spent the night, and he was a really good player. On a regular basis, he spent the night at my house when he was in 8th grade with my sons. They were friends. The recruiting goes on, whether people want to say it or not. What do we do here? If a kid wants to come to Hedgesville High School, we tell them what the rules are. We don't turn them away and no, we don't want you. And we're not out recruiting kids. There are people that do. It's common practice now, no matter what, if you can get a kid to go to a middle school in 8th grade, as long as he goes to the middle school that's within your high school district, well, no matter what, his transfer is rubber stamped. It's already that way for 8th grade. And so, like, well, how do you stop it and what do you do? Like, I think it's okay to let people make decisions. Like, and again, our county has its own policy. Like every county has their own individual policy. Do I think it's okay to let a kid transfer and go to a school that he wants to go to if his family's willing to provide their own transportation for them to go to the school? I get that. I think once you make a decision that that's what you're going to do, we don't make it like the NCAA. I would make it where if you don't do that, then you have to sit out. Sorry about that. The thing that happens is, well, then you have to move. And whether I'm supposed to say this on your podcast or not, the number of people that actually move compared to the number of people that finagle a move or pretend to move or fake a move is astronomically different. Everybody knows it. And so it's like we have different rules. Like if within our building, and I'm not throwing stones at our principal or anybody at all. If within our building on the paper, it says you can't wear hats in school, but then we positively never say anything to anybody who wears a hat. You just need to take the rule away. So I'm okay with whatever rules are governing by the SSAC. I think Greg Reed's a great guy. I think they do a tremendous job. I think they're trying to do things as fairly as they can. I think that they are dealing with this ever-changing world of, like we're talking about all these things about high school sports. I mean, how much longer are we going to have high school sports? How much longer until everything becomes the way of what's all just about AAU? I mean, you can play on an AAU team, and it doesn't matter if you play on an AAU team. You can travel around to, 4 or 5 really neat cities, and you can do those things. I know in soccer right now, we have lots of kids in our area that are really good soccer players that are really being pressured to not play on their high school soccer teams. We're taking away kids' high school experiences, and I think that's awful. I think it's awful to take away pep rallies from kids where you're truly cheering for your school. And again, like it's harder. And again, I love Coach Huggins. It's harder to cheer for West Virginia when you don't know the players. Everybody's there for a year, and then it's okay. What's next year's team, and next year's team. If it gets like that in high school, then it's what I said. And we end up everybody selling their soul to get to the state tournament. I used to say this all the time, and maybe it's because we didn't go all the time, and we've gone more often. We haven't gone all the time, but we've been to the state tournament obviously a number of times, and we've had success. But let's say, I'll say it in a negative way. I'll make us the negative. Let's say we don't win. Even if we win or lose on Friday, let's say we don't win on Wednesday. If we don't win on Wednesday, we're out. And if we were to win that game and we were go to the state tournament and we were to lose in the first round, then the difference in our season is one game. That's it. It's one game. Literally one. Oh, but the trip and it's one basketball game. And so we end up doing things that otherwise we might not do just for one game. So what do we concentrate on here? Like I talk about it all the time, and some people make fun of it, but like life or basketball is about the experiences. Basketball for us, basketball becomes about the relationships. My relationships with the kids, current players, former players, their parents, our staff. And that's what I think it's about. I think basketball is an excuse for the relationships that hobefully last a lifetime. I think you have to have experiences to dream. Without experiences, you can't have dreams. You got to give kids experiences so they can dream and have goals. Obviously, we've had a lot of kids that go on to play college basketball. We've had a heck of a lot more that didn't. So, it's got to be about more than just winning a basketball game. For us, we try to do that. In terms of the creating a portal thing, again, it's just my opinion. I think it's awful. I think we are doing everything. We are copying. In some ways, we're emulating, copying, however you want to say it, the model above us. And the model above us is showing to be anything but positive for kids. So that's just my thoughts.
Well said. I mean, I'm right there with you. That's very well said. I'm right there with you, because I think if this were to pass, I think you could definitely see a lot of movement across high school basketball, like what you're already seeing in collegiate basketball. So no, I do agree with you. I think also you could probably agree with me or disagree with what I'm about to say, but I think it also would take away from the community aspect of it as well. And the reason why is if one player transfers to another school, that can cause a lot of different friction. It can cause a lot of drama within that. So, regardless, it does happen. It does happen. I'm not saying it's never happened before, but I'm just saying I think the community aspect of certain schools, certain communities as well, would change and differ if this were to pass. Agree or disagree?
Oh yeah, I think uh, before I get into too much of that, let me say this. I think you'll find it interesting. Within a 4-year period, Magic Johnson won 3 championships. He won a high school championship, he won an NCAA championship, and he won an NBA championship within a 4-year period. And then he went on to win many more NBA championships. If you ask him, he will tell you without a doubt his favorite championship was his high school championship because he won it with his friends. In college, he won it with people who became his friends, but they weren't his lifelong friends. Whether you win or lose, playing games with and having experiences with your lifelong friends, like you can't, it's different. It's just different. Like when the kids asked me today, like, what was your favorite team? One of the teams I talked about had, Denver Eflin played on that team. It was the first year that we did seeding. It's the first year that we voted in our state for seeding. So 2 teams could go. When they did the seeding, we were voted 11th or 9th or whatever it was within our region. We'd only lost 1 sectional game. It was to Martinsburg, and we had split with them. We both were ranked in top 5 in the state. It's the same year we had won the Great Alaskan Shootout. At that point, high vote and low vote weren't tossed out. So we had to play Martinsburg in the first round, and we were, we ended up losing by 2, like at their place on the last second shot. And nothing away against Martinsburg. It wasn't them. They weren't the ones that did it. And to be quite honest, it doesn't matter who did it, but did people skew the system to try to give their teams an advantage? Yes. Did they change the system now where a high vote and low vote are thrown out? They did, but it was very unfortunate for the kids. Doesn't make them not one of my favorite teams. We didn't get to go to the state tournament. We played in the Great Alaskan Shootout and won it. Little Hedgesville High School, Great Alaskan Shootout. Unbelievably neat accomplishment, but it wasn't about winning the Alaskan Shootout. It was about the experience of, and those players were genuinely friends. They had been friends for a long time. Do I think that the Logans of the world have an advantage over, in some cases, the Hedgesvilles? Okay, but Hedgesville has more kids. I get it. It's a very small, unique population that is where kids are growing up with each other all the time. And then, does a kid or 2 move in from here or there? They do. And in lots of cases in smaller towns, those kids are immediately embraced by the community and everybody loves them. But, I just think that like the high school experience, like right now, they've reduced the number of credits. I know I'm talking about education stuff and I'm just a PE guy, so what do I know? But they've reduced the number of credits to graduate high school. So if you take the full load, like right now, we're on block scheduling. So you can take 8 classes, right? With very little extra effort, you can graduate high school in 3 years. Like, I don't know if that's good. I still have you?
No, you do. No, you still do.
I'm froze up.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can now. Yeah. So I think we're trying, like, we're rushing kids through high school in some ways because, okay, well, it's, whether it's economically better, I don't know. I just know that I think schools and again, it's smaller than us, but I think a population of, 800 kids to 1,200 kids is the perfect high school population in terms of the number of classes that can be offered for kids to take. I think in that case, the principals can still learn the kids' names in the school. It's not too many, and it becomes a little bit of a family community. I think kids today need that. I think they need to feel like they're part of something, because if they're not part of something positive, they're going to find something negative to be a part of. So I just, it's just my thoughts on stuff, which I guess this is what this is for. So.
Yeah, it's a platform to speak out about certain things like this, especially Senate Bill 586 or even a shot clock, for example, because that's always frequently discussed. But enough about politics. This is not a political podcast. This is a podcast about basketball here in the state of West Virginia. So, Coach, let's talk a little bit about your season so far. You guys have had a great season so far, 15-5, 16-5, if I'm not mistaken, this
Yes, sir.
season. So looking at this, you guys earned the number 1 seed in the Region 2 Section 1 playoffs. You guys will now host Martinsburg this evening. As people are hearing us on Friday, you will host 2 seed Martinsburg, which is always a clash between 2 of the better teams in the Eastern Panhandle. But let's start from a macro, and then we'll go down to this micro, which is tonight's game. When you look at your season so far, what's been the biggest difference from last year's outcome to where you guys are at today?
Well, last year, a number of things made it difficult. 2 years ago, we qualified for the state tournament. One of our assistant coaches was on that team. He's a young guy who helps out with our younger teams. And, he actually talked today about how devastated he still was from the experience of not being able to go. He was genuinely sad. We're preparing for, no matter what, we know we're going to be playing Wednesday, home or away, we're going to be playing. And so, like, he remembers that. He remembers the experience of winning that game and then, being at practice and our principal coming in and letting us know that, we had to go home. Everything was on hold, and he's still devastated by it. And again, part of that is the pageantry of the state tournament. I mean, you work your whole life for it if you're a kid in some aspects, and then it's gone. So that happened. And then we had 9 seniors. So everything shuts down, and it doesn't kind of shut down. It shuts down. And there's no basketball, there's no anything. And so we knew going into that last year, we were going to have, in essence, a JV basketball team having to play varsity. We were only going to have, 1 player who had played any minutes at all in a varsity game. Everybody else was going to be, we were going to have, 2 juniors, and everybody else was going to be sophomores. And so we knew it was going to be a rough year. It was made way rougher by the fact that there was no preseason, there was no off season, there was no, you practiced for 2 weeks and played games. It was just, and so we think we got a lot better as the season went on. We actually played Jefferson in the regional final last year, and we're very competitive for the first half. They pulled away from us a little bit in the third quarter, and they're just so athletic that if you get too far behind them, we're not necessarily great at chasing people. So, turn that around to now you have a normal off season. You have plenty of time. Kids can work. You have the 3-week period. You have your flex days. Kids have plenty of time to be in the gym and work on their own. And so you're able to build and build and build. And we did that. We had a kid who was at our school who had transferred away, who transferred back, talking about the transfer situations. And so he had moved, his family moved back. So Christian Bolduc is back with us, and he's been a really good player. And Cam Wilkes is a player who was at another school and family situation. And, his mom lives in our district now. And so he's on our team, and the addition of those two players obviously helps because they're both pretty good players for us. That and having kids that have been in the program for a year. I mean, running the same stuff, the very similar stuff, and understanding the system and my expectations and our other coaches' expectations at practice. And so, from where we were to where we are, I'd like to think we got better today. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but we have a short time to get there. I don't know if, playoffs are here. We're going to play on Friday night, but also we faced some adversity this year. Some people know, some people don't. I ended up having to miss some games, and while I was out, my assistant Chris Rest did an unbelievably good job of stepping up a little bit, and as did all the other assistants, and the kids kind of rallied behind the situation with me being out for a little bit, and to be honest, it's what I talked about before. Like in real life, man, you have adversity. Adversity happens. And when adversity happens, I told our kids, I told our whole student body the other day when I spoke to all of them, the true sign of a person and who they are as a human being is not necessarily the cards they're dealt sometimes, but how you play those cards. So, right. I couldn't be any more pleased with our kids, with my coaching staff. And again, like I said the thing before about the community, they've been so good to me. I don't want anybody to think it's not. It's just when you're from out of town, it takes a long time to work your way into not being from out of town. And so, I've raised all my children here, and I'm married to someone from the Eastern Panhandle now. And even though she went to Musselman, it's okay. I still love her. So. But it's just been tremendous. But no matter what, as we've talked about now, the game and the matchup, no way I'm getting off this thing without talking about the shot clock since you brought it up. We're definitely going to hit on that because if you Google West Virginia shot clock and you don't see my name, I'm shocked. So it's going to be there. So.
Well, before we talk about that, we still got to talk about a few other things revolving this season, but let's discuss the sectional final in the Region 2 Section 1 championship between you guys and 2-seed Martinsburg. You guys split the season series with Martinsburg winning the last game 66-60. But let's talk about it like this. Being able to see a team twice, being able to play a team twice, going up against them a third time, what kind of adjustments do you guys try to make against a team like Martinsburg that's still trying to find their rhythm despite the fact that they've had a lot of young guys? But how do you go about preparing for a team a third time around?
Well, obviously, in today's world, you can get a lot of film. So it's not just, you don't scout them just against yourselves. Everybody has their version of huddle or whatever they have. And, so having a staff dedicated enough to watch inbounds plays. And what tends to happen is this: in the Martinsburg game, you would think, okay, well, you have to change this, you have to change that because you're playing Martinsburg. The reality of it is, for us, we have to simplify what we do. The intensity of the game, their ability to disrupt things, and their physicality. We get too tricky. It doesn't necessarily work out very well for us. So for us, it becomes, I know it's like, okay, it's so cliche, like, do we meet passes? When they try to run through the passing lane, do they run through us, or do they just run through and take the ball? Usually in these games, and again, no negative things about officials at all, but it doesn't matter if it's us or if it's, Logan Chapmanville. It doesn't matter. It's a rivalry matchup. Officials don't want to decide the game, so we're going to let them play. Well, I'm a big fan of just go ahead and call all the fouls, but sometimes we decide to let them play a little bit more, and so we have to be able to match that physicality. In the first game, we did a really, really good job of controlling the boards. The second game, one of our bigger kids was out, and it really hurt us. They killed us on the offensive glass. Like, over half of their points were on offensive rebounds. I told our kids today, if we don't finish layups and they get half of all their shots they miss, we're going to be playing away on Wednesday. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but it just means we're playing away on Wednesday. So, we had to bubble up on the basket today, which, our scout team, we call them the red team, because one of the things we do, high school basketball is a little bit different around what we do is, I give away a secret. Like, we have red jerseys that have every legal number that exists in basketball. So if we were playing against your team and your best player is number 22, well, at our practice, we have a kid wearing 22. We have a kid wearing 25. We have whatever your kid's numbers are. So we go to that in depth to, what we're trying to do. Now, we also explain to the kids their level of buy-in to the importance of the scouting report. And Coach Rest is the one who puts the scouting report together. We all give them information. We divide it up. But it doesn't matter how well Coach Ruess knows the scouting report or how well I know the scouting report. When they line up to run a play and it's an inbounds play, and we don't know when they line up in a box, if this kid goes there, it's that play. Well, I know it and he knows it and all my assistants will know it. But if the kids on the court don't know it, it doesn't do us anything good. So their level of buy-in to learning that scouting report and our willingness to understand that they're high school kids, they're going to make mistakes, they're going to be nervous, all those things are going to happen. At the top of our scout or practice plan today, it's we have emphasis each day. So the defensive emphasis was, make sure we box out and pursue the ball, almost like a pursuit drill in football. We try to do it a little bit. Well, we'll do it tomorrow, but a pursuit drill in football, everybody's got to touch the ball carrier. Like you don't stop, just because the first guy gets there in a drill, everybody's got to go touch the ball on the rebound. If we just have one or two kids chase the ball, we're not going to rebound well enough. So we had the bubble on for a lot of practice on the offensive end. We worked on meeting passes. We spent a great deal of time doing it. And so if we do those two things, those two simple things, I think we have a chance. You got to shoot the ball well and other things. And then one of our big emphasis was the last big quote that we gave them at the beginning, at the end of practice is, the more prepared you are for something, the more relaxed you can be for the experience. The less prepared you are, the less relaxed you'll be. It's their decision on how much they're going to prepare tonight and, be ready to go tomorrow.
Couple more. And obviously you're guaranteed one more game. That's the regional co-final, but we know that you guys play this evening against Martinsburg, but in your eyes, you're guaranteed 2 games, including the sectional final this evening. Obviously, you've been to the big stage before, which is behind me right now. What will it take for this team to make it back to Charleston for another year for the Hedgesville?
We have to take care of the basketball. We have to rebound the basketball. In our losses, we didn't rebound well. When our losses to Jefferson, it simply comes down to, and I know, I make it sound simple, but it's not. Like Tech does a great job, and they have tons of athletic kids. If we don't control the tempo, we're not going to win. If our kids get caught, and again, we'll talk about the shot clock in a minute. People can make fun of the fact that, sometimes Hedgesville plays slow. If I got to line up to run against Usain Bolt, if I don't do something to make the race a little bit different, I'm not going to win. So we don't want to hold the ball. You have to be willing to attack, but you have to be smart about it. And so, we have to go at our pace. We can't make it a race. We're not going to win. So we have to go at our pace. We have to control the boards. If we can control tempo and make smart decisions, and we can rebound the ball well enough, I think we have good enough players to get there. Got to show up on game night. I mean, it's our freshman team lost their last game of the season. They had a really, really good season. They lost their last game, and coach came over to me. He's like, "I'm sorry." I said, "You're sorry for what, man?" So the reality of life is you picked a bad day to have a bad game. Like that happens. It happens all the time in sports. So, I think making the kids as comfortable as they can be, as relaxed as they can be, and to do everything I can to take as much of the pressure off of them as I can, and just let them try to enjoy this experience. And compete as hard as you can. Don't overthink it. Learn the stuff before tomorrow night or now tonight. Did they spend time on Thursday night learning what they had to learn on that report? If they did, it gives us a big advantage. If they didn't, we'll be at a disadvantage.
All right. Well, let's discuss the shot clock. All right. People have probably been twiddling their thumbs saying, man, when is he going to ask him about the shot clock? Well, here we go. Turn up the volume. Whatever you may be, just do it now, because here we go. So, Coach, when you look at the shot clock, it seems like it's like a seasonal discussion. Every time right around March Madness, people are always saying, should there be a shot clock? When should there be a shot clock? How can it be effective? How can this be helpful for student athletes with a shot clock? All right, floor is yours. Give us your opinion as to why West Virginia should implement or not implement a shot clock in high school basketball.
Well, I'm going to go two ways with it. My wife becomes really annoyed when I do this, but I really can take both sides of the argument, and I think I can win. I'm pretty good at discussions or arguments or whatever you want to call them. The first thing I'll tell you is this: the cost. Well, lots of things cost the world, and we find ways to do them. So, do I think the cost is an issue? Yes. Do I think it becomes something that becomes really difficult for our officials to manage? Yes. Are you going to do it at the ninth grade level as well as the JV level and the varsity level? Deciding those things becomes an issue. Having someone who understands the shot clock and how to work it becomes an issue. How do you handle the mishaps of handling the shot clock? And everybody can say, oh, but they do it in college basketball. They have people that do it in college basketball that are paid pretty well to do those games. So it does become a little bit different. So there's that part of it first. So let's say, okay, let's not worry about money and let's not worry about training people to do it. We're going to get those things done. So now that excuse is off the table. I would ask anybody who's for the shot clock to tell me why. And if they say it's because it's a better brand of basketball, the kids going up and down the court. States that do have the shot clock compared to states that don't have the shot clock. I think states that do have the shot clock, they're plus 1.5 points per game, total points, 1.5 points. What that would tell me is you're getting a lot more bad shots. That's what you're getting. Well, but if kids are going to play college basketball, we're going to change the game for less than 2% of the population that plays the game. Doesn't seem to make much sense. We're going to make it where no matter what, we're going to emulate the older leagues. So that, like, one of my, again, just basketball pet peeves, and I don't, you might know the answer to this. Do you know how the width of a basketball court?
96 feet.
Okay. No. Okay. So it's so inline, it's 84 and 94 lengthwise. Widthwise, it's the width. My main point is this: doesn't matter about the numbers. The width of the basketball court and the length of the basketball court. In the NBA, it's no different than the floor behind you, which is no different than the floor at Hedgesville High School. The baskets are 10 feet. The ball is the same size once you get past or into sixth grade. So we expect little Billy Smith, who's in sixth grade, to use the same ball, same court, same dimensions as Michael Jordan and LeBron James. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me in terms of development. With that being said, now you have this court. And so what we're going to do is, yeah, but the NBA game's so much more entertaining because of the shot clock. They also have different rules. You can't play help side defense. You can't do those things. That allows them to get up shots quicker. In the NCAA, that's why their scores are lower than college, not just because of the amount of time, but they don't have those same rules. They do have the charge circle, the help side circle. They have that, but there's for the secondary defender. But in the NCAA, that's why their scores are lower. In some cases, very low in terms of some of their games, although they have that shot clock. So do I think that it's okay? Do I think that the way it is now, if in the state tournament, in the semifinal game against Parkersburg High School, the year we won a state championship, there were 4 possessions in the in the second quarter. Our 3 best players, all 3 of them were Division I basketball players. All 3 of them had 2 fouls. We passed the ball 67 times and shot a layup. I was booed, cursed, everything you can imagine. This isn't basketball. You stink, other words, you're a baby, you're afraid. And again, when the game started, about 11,000 people there. In the second half of that same game, we scored 48 points. It was the most points that were scored in a half that year at the state tournament. We didn't hold the ball because we were afraid to play. We held the ball because our better players were on the bench in foul trouble. So is that a strategy? Yes. Do I think strategies are good? Yes. I'll give away a secret. Sometimes before an inbounds play, we have 4 of our kids on the floor run in a circle as fast as they can. It makes it really awkward for the other team to guard them. It's within the rules. It's okay. I know that if you line up in a straight line under the basket, like a line inbounds play, lots of people run it. Most people don't know that the defenders are allowed to every position inside of those players. It's a rule. You need to make sure you talk to the officials about it so kids don't push and shove, but it's a rule. I'm a big proponent of learning the rules of the game and then using the rules of the game to your advantage to try to win the game. people that don't like it, if and we haven't done it in a long time, but if Hedgesville High School just holds the ball, well, they don't like it. I don't like it if you have 2 6'10" kids that might not even be from our country, much less your school district, but I may have to play against them. So if within the rules, they're allowed to play at your school, within the rules, I'm allowed to hold the ball. Trying to get kids, and again, someone said this, and again, that was a while ago. You try to get high school kids to pass the ball 67 times without traveling, turning it over, shooting a bad shot. You want to talk about disciplined kids. And that's not easy to do. And think about it. That's with our three best basketball players. Chris Shields played at Longwood, and QJ Peterson played at VMI, and CJ Burks played at Marshall. All three had tremendous college careers. All three of them played professional basketball. Why would I play that game with those three on the bench? Wouldn't make much sense. And then we turned around the next night, and we actually were fortunate enough to win the state championship when we played against Coach Green, who's I consider him one of my best basketball friends in the world. I absolutely love him. And, we didn't hold the ball, neither did he. We were both teams that played very deliberate. We had shared film with each other. So both of us had at least 7 games of the other person because we had given each other everything to help us get to the championship game. So when we played him, we literally had 7 films on each other. We knew everybody's inbounds plays. They knew ours. It was hard to score. Kids didn't shoot bad shots. So the final was 32-31. And when we talk about what it's supposed to be about, and I'll try to say this without becoming emotional, we won the state championship and they lost, and he had won it the year before. Anybody who's seen Coach Green knows he's an unbelievably competitive person. He's coached at the college level. He's had a great deal of success at GW. And when he's going through the handshake line, he stopped and he stood and talked to me for a second. And 1, he congratulated me. 2, although he lost, I believed he was genuinely thrilled for me. And then the thing that he talked to me about was, as this finishes, as soon as we leave, media is going to pull you 7 different directions. You need to make sure that you fight them on everything and you stay with your kids to enjoy this experience. That's a guy who just lost the state championship game, being an unbelievable class act, class person, worrying about, in some ways, making sure that me, his friend, enjoyed the experience with my kids. I think that's what it's supposed to be about. The other side of the shot clock thing, pretty quick, so everybody hears it. I've been to lots of UVA practices. I used to play against one of their coaches when we were in high school. Shot clock doesn't hurt people that play pretty good defense either now. Like UVA is pretty good on defense. And so what happens is now, sometimes, and I hope it doesn't happen tonight. Sometimes if we're down to Martinsburg by 4 points and it's late in the 4th quarter, it's not real easy for us to chase them. They're way more athletic than we are. So that presents a problem. With the shot clock, I don't have to worry about that. I'll give you one more, just general. So again, do I think I could use it to our advantage? Again, at the state tournament the year we won it, we held the ball, and someone said, does it make you really, really smart? I don't know if it makes me smart. It's just I know the rules and I try to win the game. And I asked the reporters if they all played Monopoly, and they said, yes, they played Monopoly. And I said, do you guys not buy houses and hotels? Of course you do. It's part of the game. You try to win the game. So if we all of a sudden we had a shot clock, I think it's ludicrous to say we should change it because it's better for the people that go watch the game. Are you kidding? People should go watch the game because they love their school. If they don't love their school, if you're going to the Hedgesville-Martinsburg game to watch the unbelievably awesome basketball talent on the court, I'm not saying anything bad about their kids or ours, but who are you kidding? Go to a movie. I just don't get it. So you're going because you have a vested interest in the kids, in the community. So go enjoy that. You don't care if they make every shot or not. You're going to root for your team. That's normal. We have every once in a while, I don't know. I think we should just make it in terms of sorry, I babbled a little bit, but the number of bad shots will increase greatly. The number of points production will not go up greatly. Are we okay with it? Again, I'm not against it at all. In some ways, I'm actually all for it. What I don't like to do is go to Maryland and play a game where there's a shot clock, or play 2 games where there's a shot clock, and that's it. and then you come back. Those games are awkward because you're just not used to the shot clock. Then with that being said, the last thing I'll leave with on the shot clock is this. I would do something if I coached in college that no one in college does. I would, like, everybody has a call, like, okay, it's red, it's green, it's whatever. It's 7 seconds or less on the shot clock. You got to get a shot off. I think somebody should implement something where they call it purple, call it red, call it whatever you want, but you're telling your kids don't shoot. And the reason you shouldn't shoot is bad shots lead to long rebounds. Long rebounds lead to fast break points for the other team. Some people might find that entertaining. Some coaches probably find that meaning they're unemployed at the college level. So I don't know why someone hasn't done that, where somewhere along the way you just don't shoot and you just take the turnover. Live ball turnovers and bad shots are what kill you. Live ball turnovers and bad shots turn to transition points. We played with a shot clock when QJ Peterson was here, when we went to it wasn't Gonzaga, it was wherever Joe Whitten coaches, wherever Morgan Wooten's son, I can't, it eludes me right now, but Bishop O'Connell. So we went to scrimmage Bishop O'Connell. I knew we were going to be good, and I knew they were going to be fantastically good. So it would be a great test and fun experience for our kids. We went, and we had a call, and the call was red. And what red meant was, the kids thought, okay, red means it's late, we're supposed to shoot. I said, no. Red means it's late, and if QJ has the ball, he can shoot. But if the rest of you have the ball, if you can't get it to QJ, just hold it. We played Bishop O'Connell, and QJ scored 38. QJ played Division I basketball at VMI and is, one of their leading scorers in the school's history. We had a lot of kids on that team that weren't going to be like that. So it wouldn't have behooved us to shoot quickly. So that's my thoughts on the shot clock. I'm neither for it nor against it. I can just promise you this: as long as I'm coaching, if you change the rule, I'll become pretty adept at making sure I use the rule to my advantage in some way.
Again, very well said on your part. Very strong answer as well. I like it. I love it. I appreciate it. And Coach, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck this evening against Martinsburg, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, sir. That will conclude episode 99 of Hoops Across the Mountain State with our two guests, Tanner Whitten and Coach Kelly Church from Hedgesville High School. Well, again, thank you all for listening to this episode. You can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Rate us, review us. We would love to hear from you all as well. So with this being said, guess what's up next? Episode 100, the big 100. But don't forget, it's a two-parter, so 100A, 100B. You will not want to miss it. We'll also have our girls and boys state tournament preview as well. So a lot of moving parts, but I know you all are very capable of keeping up with everything, keeping up to date with what's going on within the state of West Virginia as well. Well, again, thank you all for listening, and I will catch you all next time on episode 100A and 100B.